Hi, I'm Mike Gonzalez, and today on All Things Brownsville, we have Jessica Tetreau,
Hi.
the youngest female commissioner in Brownsville history, right?
That's right.
Are you going to share the age, or you're just going to keep us guessing, or you're going to make us look it up in the records?
I think I was like 26.
26?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, talk a little bit about it. You ran, you've been on there for how many years now?
3 years.
3 years. Can you talk a little bit about your transition, from this is what I think it's going to be like, and this is kind of what being a commissioner kind of really entails. You want to share a little bit about that?
Right. Well, it's a huge transition going from a regular citizen to becoming a city commissioner.
Uh-huh.
You're handed this, extreme amount of power.
Yeah.
And from one day to the next, everything that's ever bothered you, all of a sudden can be fixed.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
you just got to work hard, right?
That's just a lot of hard work. But I guess the most important thing to know is, once, you get over that realization, you have a certain window of time that you have.
Right.
And all of these ideas and dreams and goals that you have, have to be compressed in what's most important and what comes first, what's possible. And of course, everything comes with hard work and dedication.
And that's funny, one thing you said about what's possible. And, I think Abraham Lincoln once had a great quote he was talking about is, sometimes you have a great idea, but sometimes you have to put it in your pocket until it's politically possible to get it done. And that's sometimes a challenge that citizens don't understand, or a lot of folks understand is, even as a commissioner, you still have to build consensus. You still have to get community buy-in, and even though you may think it's a great idea, you still have to kind of get agreements from other folks to move it forward and prioritize it, right?
That's right.
But you do have one project which was able to get pushed through, right?
Yes.
And that's called the splash pad, right? Is
Splash
that
pad.
the right? Tell us a little bit about it.
That's the right terminology. The day I was elected, I had this great idea. I'm from the area. Right in front of Perkins Middle School on Austin Road.
Okay.
Existed this park, and it's called Portway Acres Park.
Okay.
It's Brownsville's first ever federally funded park from the 70s.
You're all about the first ever, right?
I know,
the first
right?
ever female commissioner, the first ever
write-in
park. Let's go in there and change it up.
first ever write-in candidate too. So it was originally built in the 70s, and not much had been done. It was just green land, and the kids, would play soccer, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
And so I had block walked the area, and I became very close. I'm from the area.
Right.
And so as soon as I was elected, I learned about CDBG funding.
Yeah.
And so that was like my dream.
Wow, there's these federal funds that we could
Yes.
tap into.
They're going to give me money?
So when what's funny is one thing which you really hit on, I think what good public servants do is you said when I went out block walking.
Right.
And one thing a lot of people don't really understand is sometimes when you announce to run and you start to run, a lot of times you don't really know what the issues are until you start knocking on doors and you start visiting with folks.
Right.
And I think that's the real power, where elected officials really come in and say, look, we've interacted with citizens. We know kind of what they want. And then once you get in, you're talking about the CDBG funding, right?
Right.
And how do you make that connection? So CDBG funding, you saw some funding there. How did you all actually move forward on acquiring it?
Well, immediately I went to the planning department, and I told them what my vision was, and they said, that's a really good idea. Let's meet with the community.
Right.
Let's gather everybody around, and let's see what we can submit, for funding. And so we had a community meeting with the PTA from Perkins. It's right across the street.
Perfect.
And we met with a lot of the neighbors. We knocked on doors again.
Yeah. They're like, didn't we just see you? I'm like,
Didn't we just see you, Jessica?
It's like, I already voted.
No, but they were very eager. No, they were
Which is good because you asked for their vote, and now you came back and said, all right, well, I'm in.
I proved myself.
How, this is something we need your engagement on, right? Which is great.
That's right. And so we all met. Over 100 people came out. And, we polled them all. We asked them, what would you like to see here?
Right.
And from that, we had a chart. We took it to the designers. We submitted everything to HUD. And they actually, they loved it.
Yeah.
And they said this was a really good idea.
What was the concept? Talk about that.
The concept was to make it a neighborhood park.
Okay.
To make it completely usable.
Right.
Every piece of, the property had a function to it.
Right.
And so we put in about 8 features.
So it's stuff that like families, kids can interact with.
Yes.
So it wasn't like, well, let's make this stuffy, ornate park that people just walk through. It's like, no, let's make it a playground.
We actually had sketched something out, and then when we met with 100 people, they were like, what is this? No.
Which is the right time to do it, right?
Exactly.
Not after you built it and they said, wait a minute.
Exactly, as a lot of things sometimes happen. But
Yeah.
So it was really cool to get them involved. And I think that, kind of showed us and proved to us how important it is to involve,
the community, right?
The community.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the voice.
Right.
So
how much funding? Do you remember how much money you got from CDBG?
first we got about $156,000, and then it was upped because we thought it was a really good idea, and we reprogrammed some of the funding. We wound up getting about a little bit over $300,000.
So this started pretty much right when you came in.
First day on the job.
And as a lot of people don't realize, I mean, this stuff takes time. Especially when you're trying to bring in outside funds to get it done.
It was very important to me. We could have done it earlier if we would have used city funds.
Right.
But it was important to me to utilize the best of what was out there.
Right.
The least strain on the city.
Well, and the other thing too is if you would have just done city funds, you probably could have done it faster.
That's right.
But it may have been a smaller project, right?
That's right.
Instead of as comprehensive. So it's like, well, let's leverage some funds. So it's the right way to do it.
That's right.
The more painful way to do it, right? It just takes a lot more time. So, you had a great point. Is the original design, the citizens went, and what was some of the feedback you heard from folks after the initial concept?
Well, it was really cool because, a lot of things that I hadn't thought of.
Yeah.
They reminded me we need lighting. We got solar lights in there.
Perfect.
Which is really cool. They're beautiful aside from being functional.
Energy efficient, yeah. All good stuff.
And we got solar lighting in there that we hadn't thought of. They also wanted a dog park.
Really?
Brownsville does have a dog park, but it's about 20 minutes away from that area.
Okay, yeah.
So that was really cool.
Well, the neat thing about that too is you kind of create the whole neighborhood concept, right?
Right.
It's local people seeing each other out there. That's how you build the community. Is they interact more. That's great.
Yeah.
What else did they tell you they wanted? Anything comes to mind?
They also wanted a walking trail because there's a lot of mothers with babies and strollers.
Awesome.
That are in that area. They wait for their kids to get out of school, so now they can go. There's also an area where they can Zumba, which I thought was really cool.
Awesome. Splash pad.
Splash pad. The splash pad. Well, I had seen on the news in other cities, somewhere in the valley.
Somewhere else, okay.
Somewhere else, that put in a splash pad in a very good part of town.
Right.
And so I said, well, I want one too, but I want one better.
Yeah.
So, sure enough.
So it's a one better.
We have one extra spout.
There you go.
Yeah, so that was really important to me.
Well, that's cool. So, when you're talking to the community about the splash pad concept, is that something that says, oh, yes, we got to have that? That's awesome? Or
They loved it. They loved it. As you know, in Brownsville, we have over 100-degree weather.
Yeah, all the time.
The nearest splash area is, I think, on the island.
Right.
So everybody was so ecstatic, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, that's amazing. Okay, so the whole process, again, it took about, you started, what year were you sworn in? Do you remember?
2011.
It feels like a lifetime ago. I know
really
that's how public service is.
It does.
Yeah, and ribbon cutting on the thing was
December, I think the 13th.
Of 2013.
2013.
Wow. So all throughout the process, a lot of people don't realize, but you just kind of have to keep pushing, right? Keep pushing, keep engaging, and keep moving the project forward.
That's right.
And what were some of the reactions you got from folks? I mean, how
I
did
was
the community
almost
turn
in
out to?
tears. I was almost in tears. I mean, I can honestly say as a commissioner, that was probably the one thing that moved me the most, to see that, my hard work and, we had a lot of obstacles.
Right.
And we overcame all of them. And to see, the reward of, we had, I think, over 100 kids. And I got to talk to them and I got to tell them, the city of Brownsville believes in you and we're all here for you. And so it was very important and special.
Right.
I'm cheesy that way, but it was definitely one of the highest moments I've experienced as a commissioner.
Well, and the powerful thing about that is, we've had a lot of Vibrant Brownsville lecture series, and they talk about how if you can kind of build up your public spaces, how, it doesn't matter what income background you come from, if you have quality public spaces, you still have a high quality of life. And that's kind of what this park really, really gives people, right?
That's right.
It doesn't matter, your house or your household income. If you have quality spaces, that you all come in together on, then kind of everyone's equal and everyone gets to enjoy it equally, right? And it's
That's
great
right.
that it's in this part of town. Well, good. Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, Jessica, thanks so much for coming by, and I hope you visit us again soon and talk
Thank you for
about
having me.
the next project.
Absolutely.